Hi, friends, and welcome to the Dreamer and Doer podcast. I'm your host, Brianne Johnson. I designed this space to be a place that we can discuss dreaming big despite the setbacks and fears that come with it. I invite you to come along this journey with me as we embrace our stories and share our journeys. So let's dream big together and get intentional about making it happen. Hey there, friends. You're listening to the Dreamer and Doer podcast with Brianne Johnson. This is episode number 1, and I'm so excited that you are listening to it. I am so new to this whole podcasting thing, and I'm glad that you get to be here in my awkward and messy beginnings as I kind of stumble around and figure it all out. I want this podcast to be like enjoying a cup of coffee with a friend over soul-filled conversation. I hope that you feel leaving encouraged and inspired to do whatever it is that you feel called to do. You know, I started this whole podcasting thing because I'm all about sharing your voice and sharing your story. And I have both of those things, so why not share it with the world and inspire other people to do the same? My vision for this podcast is that we'll get to interview and talk with people who are in the middle of their dreams. Dreams are scary and overwhelming, and the doing part takes so much courage and willingness to step out of your comfort zone. A theme for my year has been get comfortable getting uncomfortable. And honestly, it's been so fun and exhilarating. And at the same time, I second guess myself every day. But there's something about being out of our comfort zone that really causes us to thrive in what we're made to do. My vision for this podcast is to connect you with stories of people who are leaning into their dreams, walking in obedience to what they feel they've been called to do and how they are doing it. There's one key thing that I really want you to understand, and it's that these things don't happen overnight. Now, there are exceptions, and sometimes they do, but I'm willing to bet most of the time these dreams take years of patience, hard work, diligence, and a daily cultivation as people plant these seeds and then they watch the harvest come. I've learned that sometimes the dreams don't even look like what we thought they would, and they evolve and they change, and they almost never look the way we think they will. I should know. I can 100% say it's been true for me. I myself have always been a visionary. I think I always have been, and I always will be. I can remember times when I was little of making bracelets and wanting to sell them to raise money. I remember in high school, I had this journal of a coffee shop that I was going to start, and I could tell you where it was going to be, what it was going to look like, what we were going to do. And the crazy thing is, back then, I even had a dream that that coffee shop would be supporting a children's home in the Amazon. Now, I even remember trying to start a nonprofit my senior year of high school with my now husband. We called it Changing Tides, which is kind of funny because my current business is called Salt and Light Trading Company. So you can tell they've both always had a beachy influence. I've always loved the beach, and I always feel inspired and leaving with some new crazy idea after I visit the beach. So I remember our saying for that nonprofit was, share your story, change a life, save the world. And I still believe that to be so true today. I think there's something so powerful in sharing our stories. And as we do that, we can connect to people on a deeper level than just saying the little things. I'm all about throwing away Instagram perfection and just being real, honest, and vulnerable. I don't want you to ever think this has been an easy journey for me or that I've always had it all together, because the truth is there's tears almost on a daily basis. There's been arguments, I don't want to admit it, but there has been with my husband as we go through growing pains of starting a new business. And as we learn how to work together and also be married, hopefully something I'll be able to talk about on the podcast later. But right now I still feel like I'm learning, so I'm not quite ready to share. As I've mentioned before, I've always been a dreamer and a visionary. And for years, I don't think I really walked in that because I was too scared of failing. But for me, life became so much sweeter when I finally embraced that. I gave myself permission to just dream big, fail, pursue hard things. Just try something. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. And that's okay. If you would have asked 10-year-old me what I wanted to be when I grew up, my answer would have been, I don't know, but I want to change the world. So here I am, 16, almost 17 years later, and I feel like my answer is still the same. I remember being friends with people who knew exactly what it was that they wanted to be when they grew up and were already on tracks to become doctors and teachers, and I just remember feeling a little left out, but I just knew those things weren't for me. Currently, I am the CEO of Salt and Light Trading Company, a company my husband and I founded last year. It is a fair trade and ethically made clothing boutique, and it has been such a ride. We get to do vendor events a lot. We take our own pictures. We kind of do everything for it. Those were just two things. Like, there's so much every day that we are doing to make this a thriving business, but our heart behind it is, one, to see the Grace House Amazon fully funded monthly by our sales, and number two, changing the fashion industry by raising awareness around where your clothes are made. We honestly just want people to be thoughtful and aware of how their clothes are being made so that later down the road, but hopefully right now, we can begin to change people's lives on the other side of the fashion industry. I know that sounds confusing and complicated, and I would love to get into it in a future episode. Today is just my intro to what I want this podcast to be about, and I'm sure you'll see it change and evolve and take different directions than what I'm talking about right now in this first episode. Even as I prepared to do this podcast today, as well as when I was opening my boutique, the thoughts of just like comparison and thinking that other people are already doing the same thing really prohibited me from moving forward. And I think it's easy to see that someone else is doing maybe a similar thing that you have in mind. But the truth is, I've now realized no one else can share my story the way I share my story. No one else can share it with my voice. No one else has walked through what I've walked through. And I'm so humbled that this is my get-to. I think it's easy to be afraid of failing, but it's time to quit thinking about the things that could go wrong and start thinking about the things that could go right. I'm sure you've heard the quote, "There's freedom waiting for you on the breezes of the sky," and you ask, what if I fall? Oh, but my darling, what if you fly? And that has kind of been a quote that I've kind of held on to, knowing that, okay, I could do this and I could fail. And those thoughts keep me from doing it. But what if I do these things? And what if I fly? What if I thrive? What if it is something I never imagined possible and it happens? And I realize that that risk of seeing what will happen is greater than the risk of seeing the failures. I want to encourage you to just stay in your own lane. Don't look to your right or to your left and see what the other person next to you is doing. Just do your thing. Don't define your success or compare all the amazing things you've already accomplished and will accomplish to what someone else is doing. Keep running your own race and using your voice. The world needs more of you, and only you can be you. Maybe this would resonate with you, but as I realize certain things that have happened in my life have led me where I am right now, it's encouraging and really neat to look back because I remember feeling in those seasons like they were never going to end. But life is so sweet when you embrace the seasons. Be in the season, be all there, walk through it, and know that a new season will come. Sometimes they're long. The character that you develop in private during those seasons is only going to help and prepare you for your time in the seasons where you're doing and where you're in the public. In 100% realness, this venture has been scary. And at times I feel super vulnerable taking risks and putting myself out there. But honestly, how boring would life be if we just lived comfortably? I don't want this to be about sharing the ending of people's journeys, but I want to walk with them right where they are. I plan on interviewing people who are dreaming and maybe haven't started what they're dreaming about, but I want to document that for them. I want them to share their story and what's on their hearts, and just let this be a community where we can encourage one another on our walks. So no matter where you are, I hope that you are feeling inspired and ready for episode number 2, which I have no idea what will be about yet, but we will record that soon. Thank you so much for tuning in and listening to my very first podcast. I can't wait to see how this evolves and who I'll get to interview. I have a plan. I'm just not sure who you will hear from first. So thank you for tuning in. I hope you've left feeling encouraged and inspired, and that you are anxiously waiting episode number 2. And if you don't mind, I'm going to go ahead and ask you to just leave a review, so that the iTunes people will, boost this podcast and help us get put on different charts and that sort of thing. So if you want to do that, I would greatly appreciate it. And if you have any ideas of things that you want me to talk about or questions, please feel free to email me. My email is Breanne, BREANNE, at saltandlighttradingco.com. And I would be more than happy to read those requests and take that feedback so I can figure out how to implement that into future episodes. So thank you all. I hope you have an amazing day wherever you are, and that you remember you are loved and that you have purpose and value in your life. And I can't wait to see what you do.